Hey, Vanessa here. Let's talk about which diet is right for you. I don't know about you, but the last time I went to the bookstore, there were so many books on diets alone and a whole nother aisle of all different types of cookbooks, all different types of cuisines that you can cook. It's overwhelming. So, I'm going to give you an overview of the five most popular diets that are around at the moment. And then I'm going to give you step by step instructions to know exactly how to find out which diet is going to work best for you. Then I'm going to talk about how do you integrate this into your everyday lifestyle, right? It's not about going all in, it's about doing this step by step so that it sticks. So let's get started. The most popular diet right now, and a lot of my clients and friends rave about it, is the intermittent fasting diet. Now, fasting has been around for a long, long time. Many religions integrate fasting into their yearly routines as different ways to give thanks and praise and to realize how important food is to our bodies and to our living. But this is really a different idea when you think about it from a medical perspective. So, how the fasting works is that you set an eating window. So, for example, you set your eating window to be 8 hours, and then you have 16 hours of that same day where you're not eating. So, for example, 10 o'clock, you have your breakfast, you break your fast, and then you can eat all throughout the day. And then at 6 o'clock, that's when you start fasting, right? So eating window 10 to 6 eating times, and then after that, no eating at all. You can have some light teas, you can drink, but the whole idea is about giving your body a rest. So, yes, it's limiting the time that you eat, which can feel strange, but it's more thinking about giving your body a rest where you're not always bringing your blood sugar up and bringing your blood sugar down. So, thinking about this, it gives your digestion system a time to rest and actually process everything. Some of us, I used to work really late hours at night and I wouldn't have dinner to 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And if you're falling asleep with food on your belly, that means that your body doesn't have the time to really digest everything and clean out and start fresh in the morning. So that's the whole idea. Some people talk about ketosis, where you're bringing your body into a way where it can burn. It could burn the fat that's actually stored in your body. So it's not using food as fuel, it's using your own fat cells as fuel. So that's a really lovely idea, but let's talk about it. So, I think one of the biggest pros that I've seen with intermittent fasting, one is that people feel like they have a sense of control over what they're eating. And then there's a clear, defined rule. Isn't like the other diets where there's all these different crazy rules about matching different foods together or what you put on your plate, what you don't. It's really simple. You eat during this window and then you don't eat when it's out of that window. So I think ease of use, but then the second is weight loss. People do lose weight on it. And find it quite easy so they can keep up with it for a longer period of time. So, one of the cons, if you're someone like me, if I have this kind of block from eating and it sort of makes me crazy, it sets me up for binge eating. So I don't mind having that time during the day where I can eat, but if there's a point in the evening where I can't eat and I actually feel hungry, I start to feel deprived, and that sets me up for a binge. So if you're a person who has had binging in the past and not even anything bad, just you have this feeling of being deprived and then to suddenly eat a lot, then this diet probably isn't for you. And if you're someone who has like hypoglycemia, or if you're a mom with little kids, or you're pregnant, this also may not really work for your body. So, this is definitely something you need to check with your doctor about. Yeah, with blood sugar and things like that, it could be tricky. So, let's jump into the next one. Is the paleo diet, also known as the Paleolithic diet. And what this means is that you eat like a caveman ate back in the day. And the idea behind this is that cavemen didn't grow things on farms. So they didn't have wheat, they didn't have quinoa, they didn't have any grains. It was really limited back then to hunting, so killing and eating animals, as well as picking berries and different things that grew on the ground. So when you think about this diet, it's taking out all of the bread, it's taking out dairy as well, because again, there weren't any farming or controlling of animals. And it's a really interesting concept. Now, one of the pros is that this is really beneficial for some people. Some people don't actually digest grains very well. They don't digest wheat or quinoa, or some corns. It really, or oatmeal, it doesn't work and they feel quite bloated. There's also other people who don't do well with dairy products, right? Yogurts, cheeses, milks, doesn't work for them. And so this diet would work really well for them because it takes that stuff out. So the cons is sometimes people focus very heavily on the meat aspect of it. So they're eating lots of meat all throughout the day. And not that there's anything wrong with eating meat, it's just when you predominantly eat only meat, it may not be great for your digestion system and for your body either. It could be quite restrictive and also expensive. I live in Switzerland and the price of meats is very high. It's actually, it's much better when you eat a more veggie diet here. So I think for the Paleolithic diet, when you're thinking about eating like a caveman, it kind of has a romantic feel to it. I'm eating what, the first humans ate, and it could be quite fun. So that is paleo. Then we have the Mediterranean. And so Mediterranean can also be quite romantic when you think about this area in Europe, being close to the sea, beautiful pictures of lots of fruits and vegetables and olive oil. I think one of the attractive things about this diet is that it's coming from places that are known to have really good and tasty food. And it's also, quite balanced, let's say. You can enjoy a glass of wine with dinner. You can have a small piece of bread. You have meats and stews and veggies. But the thing is that it is mostly fruits, vegetables, and grains with a bit of meat, a bit of wine, a bit of oils. And so it feels quite balanced. So bonus, or like the pro of the Mediterranean diet, is that it's delicious and it tastes good and it feels balanced. Cons, I'm not really sure I can find any con other than maybe sometimes you have to be cooking. I think with any of these diets, you have to be cooking a lot more than we actually do. But to be honest, it's really difficult to find a con for the Mediterranean diet. So, and the last one is a cleanse. So cleansing has become quite popular these days, mostly because there are a lot more toxins in our environment and it's become a big topic with nutritionists, a big topic just about the planet in general and what can you do to clear and cleanse out your body. So the thing about cleanses, I'll start with the pros. So the first thing is that a lot of times you're taking something out of your diet. It could be quite restrictive, but you take out things like dairy, or maybe you take the grains out, or you take certain vegetables out, and you focus a lot on taking in different foods, juices, and waters that can act as a way of cleaning and flushing things out of your body. A pro is that you could learn that maybe your body doesn't tolerate something. So for example, I did a vegan diet once for a whole week, just to see how it would feel. And what I learned is that I was actually lactose intolerant. I didn't digest milk or yogurt very well, but I didn't know that until I took it out of my diet for a week. and saw how it was impacting my digestion system. So in doing that diet and doing that cleanse, it really helped me to learn more about my body so I can make a different decision moving forward. So another thing is that you can also explore new foods. So when you do a cleanse, a lot of times they're new and different foods than what you're used to eating. And so it exposes you to some new things that maybe you didn't know about. And that could be quite fun. Now the cons are, it's so restrictive, right? It's like if you're taking milk out, dairy out, corn, grains, or you're doing a juice cleanse where you're just juicing all day long. It might feel wonderful in the first few hours because your body is actually letting everything settle down in there. It could also be that you're hydrating more, and so your body's really loving that hydration. However, if you're doing that for a few days, it may just feel like you'll feel tired, you may have headaches, especially if you've taken coffee out of your diet for a few days. Something is going to shift and it may feel really, really uncomfortable. Along with this restriction, could be too that you have that feeling like you want to binge because you haven't been eating and your body's used to getting food 3 and 4 and 5 times a day, so that when you cut out so much, you just have that ravenous hunger. And then it could be dangerous depending on which cleanse you choose. There's some out there that are highly not recommended. I think one's called the Master Cleanse, where you take some vinegar and water and some cayenne pepper, and you're drinking that with a bit of maple syrup. Could be quite dangerous depending on the condition of your body. So with cleanses, I would definitely say be careful. Check in with the doctor, especially if you're not 100% well. And if you're curious about it, to go slow. But let's get into the how next. So the different diets that I talked about was the intermittent fasting, so having the fasting window, the paleo diet, eating like a caveman, the Mediterranean diet, eating like the people from the Mediterranean region in Europe, and the cleanse. So let's have a look at this. As you heard me talk about those different diets, did any one of them pique your curiosity? Did any one of them say, this one sounds good, or I might want to try that, or there's certain things that are happening for me that make me want to go towards one diet or the other? Let's talk about which diet will actually work for you. Now, there's so many diets. It doesn't have to be one of these 5, but let's think about it. So the first thing you want to think about is which diet is going to be the one that you can follow most often. Which one can you follow most often? So if you think, hey, there's no way I cannot eat all day and drink juice all day, probably not the diet for you. So which one can you follow? 2, which food feels good in your body? And what I mean by that, food has to feel good in your belly. It has to feel good in your digestion, so not slowing it down and not making it too fast. Also has to bring you energy. There's some foods that I eat that make me feel like I want to take a nap after, but there's also foods that I eat that I feel good in my belly and then I have energy. Not like Red Bull, energy drink energy, but just I feel light, energetic, clear in mind, and it helps me to move forward. Clarity in mind, right? There's foods that make you feel fuzzy. And then health, right? And so a lot of times when we think about diets, we think about weight as that only gauge, as that only measurement. And the thing is that health is so many other things. You can think about blood sugar, cholesterol, blood pressure, how you feel, how your body's moving, the energy that you have, the quality of sleep, right? That's total health. It's not just about the weight. And so which food feels good in your body? That was number 2. The third is satisfying. Now, some of the foods out there, I just wanted to show you a picture from this diet book. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. So this one here, this is what you would eat in its whole day in this diet book. And for me, it's just horrible. It's totally mushy food. It's a bunch of vegetables that have been cooked. Like it almost even looks like it's been cooked too much. And then some eggs on a plate with vegetables as well and a bit of fruit. And I just look at that and I go, hey, no way. Like I am not eating mushy food all day. That feels like baby food. And I wouldn't feel satisfied with that. So when you think about foods and foods that you want to stick to eating, think about the texture. Maybe you do like having mushy foods. I like mushy oatmeal in the morning. However, at lunch, I like having something crispy, like a crispy piece of bread, a crispy salad, a crispy gluten-free cracker with some tuna on it. And so I like to have something a bit mushy, something a bit crispy, something a bit fresh, maybe something savory and warm, something that I can really chew and get into it. Really think about texture, because sometimes if you have only mushy foods, you start to feel like, ugh, I'm really missing out on something. The fourth thing is food that keeps you in community. And what I mean by that is some diets are so restrictive that you can never go out to eat. You can never really enjoy a dinner out at a friend's house. You can't go on holiday because it just feels so restrictive that you couldn't eat with other people. You would always be the odd one out. So if there's a way that you can gauge your diet or the different foods that you're choosing that actually brings you in community with people, that doesn't isolate you. Because when you feel isolated, that is not healthy at all. And the last one is simple and easy. So one of the examples I gave you was the Paleolithic diet. And yeah, if you're only having meat and berries, which is awesome and okay, most of the times you have to cook and prep a lot. So when I did that diet, I had to spend a whole Sunday just chopping up vegetables, like prepping everything, marinating things, and then cooking all the time. And it wasn't simple and easy for me. And that's where I lean more towards the Mediterranean diet because it brings me into community. I do have lots of meal prep, but I feel like it's something that other people can eat as well and could enjoy, and I find the balance in that. So let's talk about that again. The 5 different ways. 1, that you're going to eat more often. 2, foods that feel good in your body. 3, satisfies. 4, keeps you in community. And 5 is simple and easy. So we talked a lot about different things. What stood out to you? What feels good? Is there anything that you're curious about? Just let me know. And I wish you all the best.